Hi guys, it's Sammy Peterson here, and I'm going to start today by talking to you about 3 plants that you should know about that you need to avoid. Those 3 plants are poison ivy, nettle, and wild parsnip. There are lots of poisonous plants around, but we aren't talking about eating. We are talking about plants that you have to be aware of before you walk into an area, a plant that can hurt you by touch alone. This plant that's in front of me right here, this is poison ivy. Poison ivy has a lot of different leaf shapes, but one thing that's pretty consistent, unless it loses a leaf, is that it always has 3 leaves. If you look close at the leaves, this middle leaflet right here, it has a longer stem or petiole. So the middle leaflet is longer, and then a lot of times, but not always, the side leaves, these 2 leaves on the side, they kind of have ridges that look like mittens. So I have always heard leaves of 3, let them be, side leaves like mittens, make you itch like the dickens. What can happen with this plant is if you get the oil on you, and that oil can come on you from direct contact with your skin if you brush against it. It can come on you if you get it on your clothes and brush against it, or your pet and brush against your pet. That oil will go onto your skin, and if you are allergic to it, it will cause this really hard, shiny, later on bubbling, pussing, crusting, oozing rash that can last months. The tricky thing about poison ivy is you don't know that you have it until much after you've exposed yourself to it. So if you know that you've been walking in an area where you have seen this plant, what you should do is you should wash those clothes immediately and wash your skin with soap and water. This plant here, this is called wild parsnip. You can recognize it in a couple different ways. One, the flower, when it's out, it's not always out, is bright yellow, and it's made up of groups of lots of little flowers. We call this an umbel shape. The leaves of the wild parsnip are made up of these leaflets, little tiny leaves, that are in a ladder shape. They're directly across from each other. So you're noticing maybe, oh, she's touching this plant. This plant can hurt her. This plant can hurt you, but it can hurt you in very specific ways. The sap of this plant contains something called a furanocoumarin. What happens is when you get the sap on you, and you get the sap by breaking the stem, by walking through a field unknowingly and snapping it and getting that on your skin. What will happen is once that sap gets on your skin and the sunlight hits where that sap has gotten, it will stop your skin's ability to protect itself from the sun, giving you these terrible sunburns. So obviously the way to avoid this would be to cover yourself in clothes that you don't have to worry about the sap coming onto your skin. If you recognize the plant though, and you're in a situation like I am right now where I am not wearing pants, as long as I know how to watch my surroundings and recognize this leaf shape, I can keep myself safe. Now that you know how to recognize the flowers and the leaf shape of this plant, I'm going to take you to another plant that can cause a different reaction on your skin. The next type of plant that you might want to avoid when you're walking through nature is called a nettle. We have 2 types of nettle that you should be aware of. There is wood nettle. This one looks much beefier. And then there is stinging nettle. This one is a little more delicate. There's a lot of other differences too. Besides the broader versus thinner leaves, if you take a look at the stem of the stinging nettle, you'll notice that it doesn't have a huge amount of hairs, and the stem is ridged. There's these little lines that go down the stem. Take a look over here at the wood nettle. The stem of the wood nettle has a lot of hairs on it, and it's pretty circular and smooth. Another thing I want you to pay attention to is how the leaves are coming off of the stem. Take a look at the stinging nettle. The leaves come right across from each other. That is called opposite leaves. If you take a look at the wood nettle stem, the leaves do not come out opposite to each other. They are staggered. Scientists call that alternate leaf arrangement. One of the things that is shared between these two plants that is an absolutely surefire way to identify them is that they are able to sting you with these hairs. If you're not sure if it's stinging nettle or wood nettle and you rub your skin against those hairs, you'll be sure. Those hairs don't cause permanent damage the same way that poison ivy or wild parsnip will. It's an immediate stinging effect that is really only best treated with time. It depends on how deep the sting goes and how sensitive your skin is. Right now, I am comfortable because I have pretty thick skin on my hands. I'm comfortable touching the stem of this plant. What would happen if I took my skin on the top of my arm and rubbed against this is, oh, it just happened, I would get a little sting. So to avoid this plant, you're going to want to cover up any skin that could get those hairs stuck onto it. As long as you've covered up your skin, you should be okay. If you do get stung, remember it's not going to last forever and it's not going to be permanent damage. Now that you've learned how to identify poison ivy, wild parsnip, and nettles, you can feel a lot more comfortable going on your next nature adventure.